domestic dispute turns deadly tonight. A woman is dead and her husband is in custody. The violence unfolding at a Jewish community center in the middle of the day.
We've learned he has a lengthy criminal history. You may remember when we told you how he was a person of interest when his girlfriend Traquita Scott disappeared in June of 2014. While he was never arrested in that case, she has never been found. 26-year-old Vicki Simmons dated Watts in 2009. It's during that time Simmons was found dead at a Northeast Miami-Dade motel. Her killer never caught, leaving Jones to believe Watts may be to blame.
Before we go further, I need to set expectations about what you're about to hear. This story involves 3 women, 2 confirmed dead and 1 missing since 2014. What links them? All 3 became involved with the same man. This is the case of Shandell Harris, a 30-year-old mother with big ambitions who became the 3rd known victim tied to someone who should have been removed from the streets long before. What happened to Shandell didn't occur in isolation. It was the heartbreaking culmination of a years-long pattern that should have been stopped. The man at the center is Monte Watts Jr. And by the end of this report, you'll be asking the same question families have asked for more than a decade. How was he allowed to remain free? Let's rewind to the beginning, because this timeline doesn't start with Shandell. It begins in 2009 with 25-year-old Vicki Simmons. Vicki, a graduate of Booker T. Washington High in Miami, was described by her sister LaShawn as soft-spoken, a lover of dance, and a student of real estate. Like many women in this narrative, she was a mother of 2 doing her best for her kids. At some point her path crossed with Watts Jr. From the outset, Vicki's family distrusted him. LaShawn said she sensed something was off. Love, however, can blur even the brightest red flags.
I know it wasn't a good relationship, and she really wanted out.
The pair drifted in and out of the relationship. According to LaShawn, Carl's conduct toward Vicki became abusive, domestic, in and out, as she put it. When Vicki began exotic dancing, Carl objected and argued constantly. Exhausted by conflict, she chose to end it for good. On February 17, 2009, Vicki's family reported her missing. 2 days later, her body was discovered at the Sun and Surf Inn on Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. Investigators never released an official cause of death, but LaShawn told local media that a detective confided they suspected Carl. There simply wasn't enough evidence to prove it. The case went cold. Carl moved on. The next woman connected to him was Traquita, a 24-year-old mother intent on building a better life. She worked 2 jobs, 5 years at U-Haul, and another position caring for people with mental health challenges. Her dream was to become a police officer. Engaged to Al Livingston, the father of her daughter, she met an officer through Al's barbershop connection who mentored her. She passed the qualifying exam and even went on a ride-along. She was inches from the academy, but a shadow lingered. Watts Jr. Traquita shared a son with him, and even with a new fiancé and a new path, complete separation was difficult. Jeffrey Davis, her manager at U-Haul, said he personally saw Carl get physical with her, even in front of customers. Jeffrey intervened repeatedly and eventually sought a restraining order after multiple calls to police. Traquita confided she feared for her safety. One day she said she had a terrible feeling she might not return. On June 25, 2014, after taking her mother to run errands, Traquita headed to work. Her phone kept ringing. She sent the calls to voicemail. Her mother suspected it was Carl and understood why those calls went unanswered. Traquita mentioned needing rest for a headache, but she still reported to her shift. She left U-Haul around 2 p.m., reportedly planning to meet Carl to pick up money for their son. She and Al texted throughout the afternoon. Around 4:30 p.m., he messaged "I love you." She replied, "I love you too," and then her phone went dark. When she failed to pick up her children from daycare, alarms went off. The daycare phoned Al. He checked home, no sign of her. That wasn't like her. Traquita's mother panicked, aware of Carl's history and that her daughter planned to see him that day. She called 23 times. Every call rolled to voicemail. The family alerted police and pressed Carl for answers. He admitted she came by to get money, claimed she left, refused further questions and hung up. He didn't call back. He didn't check on his own child. Soon he vanished as well. A week later, investigators located her gold 2007 Nissan Altima, abandoned in Liberty City, roughly 24 miles from Fort Lauderdale. The family hoped the car would lead to answers, but it led to neither Traquita nor an arrest. 4 days after the vehicle was found, Carl turned himself in. He wasn't charged in her disappearance and denied involvement. Still, he was the last known person to see her. Fast forward to 2017 and a young woman named Shandell Harris. It's unclear how much she knew about Carl's past when they met. Friends say she fell for his initial charm. This is Fatal Family Network. Like, comment, and subscribe. Every case touches family. Shandell was born July 15, 1991 in Miami. At Miami Northwestern Senior High, she served in student government and joined the debate team. At 17, she became pregnant with her daughter Shania and left school. Tragedy struck when Shania's biological father died in a car crash, leaving Shandell to raise her child alone. Refusing to be defined by setbacks, Shandell enrolled in the Turner Job Corps program in Albany, New York. She moved with 7-year-old Shania to finish her education, only to learn the program couldn't house her daughter due to age rules. Heartbroken, she sent Shania back to Miami to stay with family while she completed her GED. She succeeded, found work, and planned to enroll at Albany Technical College. She talked about public service. She wanted to become a Miami-Dade commissioner. She participated in the NAACP, Urban League and League of Women Voters, and volunteered at schools, churches, and shelters. Eventually, she returned to Miami to be near her daughter and met Carl Watts.
Who was interested first? Who said I love you first? Who's more protective? Who cleans more? Who eats the most? Who spends the most money? Who is most likely to start an argument? Who falls asleep first? Who is more annoying? Who loves the hardest?
Observers later noted that photos of Vicki, Traquita, and Shandell showed striking similarities. They looked like they could be sisters. Carl clearly had a type: young, beautiful black mothers striving for better lives for their families. Shandell dated Carl for about 2 years. They married on February 14, 2021, Valentine's Day. At first she seemed happy, then the pattern emerged. She discovered he was unfaithful, even after the wedding. It wasn't just cheating. Friends say he became controlling and isolating, cutting her off from loved ones and manipulating her. The dynamic mirrored what we'd already seen. After months of trying, she decided to end it. Remember this date, April 1, 2022. What happened then should have led to an immediate arrest. If the system had worked, Shandell might still be here. According to a friend and police documents, Shandell found messages on Carl's phone from another woman. They argued through the night. Around 7 a.m., she told him she wanted a divorce. That's when, according to the complaint, the argument turned physical. He allegedly assaulted her, left briefly, then returned with a knife and caused multiple injuries. He then threatened to hurt himself if she left. Terrified, she told officers she tried to calm him down until the situation de-escalated. He allegedly tried to wipe away evidence with bleach, pushed her to get rid of clothing, and demanded they go out for supplies. At Family Dollar, Shandell called her mother and planned an escape. She persuaded him to drive to her mom's house. Once there, she told her mom to lock the door and call 911. He banged on the door, appeared to be holding something, then left when officers were called. Shandell drove herself to the hospital and reported the assault. In the months prior, she had posted about toxic relationships on Facebook, messages that in hindsight mirrored her reality. On September 20, 2021, she warned that partners should be chosen by how they treat you, not by looks, income, or history. Staying in toxic relationships makes you lose yourself. 6 days later, she wrote that a man should be optional. If he isn't treating you right, walk away. On October 6, 2021, she wrote that abuse grows by degrees, first words, then proximity, then contact, and urged people not to excuse it, to choose themselves, and to recognize non-physical forms of abuse. Weeks before her death, she posted about self-love, valuing yourself so you don't settle, and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. Tragically, she was trapped with the opposite. After the April 1st attack, Shandell stayed with her mother. She filed charges and started divorce proceedings. He begged to reconcile and promised change. She was done. Meanwhile, the domestic violence unit searched for him. They didn't locate him in time. On Sunday, April 3, 2022, 2 days later, Shandell took her daughter to swim lessons at the Michael Ann Russell Jewish Community Center in North Miami Beach. Her mother joined as usual. Carl knew the routine. The JCC is typically secure, but Sunday lessons were open to the public, which made entering easier. Around 2 p.m., Carl arrived at the pool deck. Shandell's mother saw him, stood up and took her daughter's hand. He held cash and asked how much it would take to drop the charges. Her mother later recalled him saying he had money and asking what he could do to make the case go away.
I had her hand like this because she's my daughter. He flicks the cash and money and say, how much can I give you to make this go away? How much can I give you to make this go away?
Shandell told him to back up. She said she no longer loved him. She wanted out. She refused the money. Witnesses say he then pulled out a firearm and began shooting. Shandell tried to run as chaos broke out around the pool. Families rushed to safety as her daughter looked on. Security quickly detained him nearby and police made the arrest. Paramedics confirmed Shandell had not survived. She was 30. The aftermath was crushing. Shandell's daughter, who had already lost her biological father in a car crash, was suddenly without both parents and would need long-term counseling to cope with what she witnessed. Family members described Shandell as humble, soft-spoken, and devoted to her child. They emphasized that she did not deserve what happened to her. When headlines named Carl Watts Jr. as the accused shooter, the families of Vicki Simmons and Traquita Scott felt a painful mix of validation and grief. LaShawn, Vicki's sister, said it had taken 13 years to reach this point, but maybe justice would finally move. Charles Scott, Traquita's father, offered condolences and spoke about the toll such violence takes on families. Both families voiced the same conviction: if the system had fully held Carl accountable years earlier, Shandell might still be alive. In court, a broader picture of Carl's past came into focus, and it was infuriating. Records stretching back to the early 1990s included robbery, kidnapping, drug trafficking, assault, battery, and domestic violence charges. There were 3 prior kidnapping charges. Just a month before Traquita went missing in 2014, surveillance allegedly showed him attempting to abduct an 18-year-old at a bus stop on Sunrise Boulevard. He was arrested, then bonded out. 1 month later, Traquita vanished after arranging to meet him for child support money. At the bond hearing in Shandell's case, the judge found probable cause and ordered him held without bond, noting he arrived at the JCC with a firearm, where weapons are prohibited, and fired multiple shots. Prosecutors moved to upgrade the case to first-degree murder. His public defender entered a not guilty plea, but the evidentiary record outlined by the state was substantial. There was, however, a narrow beam of hope for the older cases. After Shandell's killing, Miami-Dade police said they were taking a new look at Vicki Simmons' 2009 homicide. Fort Lauderdale police publicly named Carl a person of interest in Traquita Scott's 2014 disappearance and asked the community for tips. Traquita's family pleaded for any information: what happened, where she might be, anything that could finally answer the questions they've carried for years. Think for a moment about what these women intended for their lives. Vicki wanted to use her real estate training. Traquita stood on the threshold of the police academy. Shandell dreamed of public service as a Miami-Dade commissioner. Each had purpose. Each tried to leave Carl. Vicki ended the relationship and was later found dead. Traquita became engaged to someone else and disappeared. Shandell filed for divorce, pressed charges, refused to reconcile, and was killed in public. The system had 3 chances to stop this pattern and failed each time. Even comments from Carl's mother during the 2014 period, saying no one is perfect, that he was younger then, and that he had done time, suggest the kind of enabling that can blunt accountability. The ripple effects are immeasurable. Together Vicki, Traquita and Shandell left 5 children without their mothers. Shandell's daughter not only lost her mom but watched the violence unfold. Traquita's kids, toddlers when she vanished, grew up with absence and uncertainty. Renewed attention brings cautious hope to these families, but it is bittersweet. They are relieved that, while in custody, Carl cannot hurt anyone else, yet they wish another woman did not have to die for momentum to build. As we close, remember one of Shandell's reflections on self-worth: when you truly value yourself, you don't settle. She tried to live by that. She refused the money, declined the pleas, filed for divorce, and reported the assault. She did what survivors are told to do. The system didn't move fast enough. Carl Monte Watts Jr. remains jailed awaiting trial in the killing of Shandell Harris. If convicted, he faces life imprisonment. Rest in peace, Vicki Simmons. Rest in peace, Shandell Harris. And to Traquita Scott, your family has not forgotten you and they will keep searching for answers. This is Fatal Family Network. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video to raise awareness. When we say their names, tell their stories, and demand better from our institutions, we honor them, and we may help someone recognize warning signs in time to seek help or offer support.